This month, the local universities plan to release more details, more information about what this fall semester will look like for students going back to college amid COVID-19. Many will begin in-person instruction next month, early July, early August in some cases. For others, classes will stay online, but students will not get any reduced tuition. And that includes Harvard University, which made that announcement yesterday. Joining us now to weigh in on this is the former president of Brandeis University, Frederick M. It's good to see you again, as always. How are you? I'm doing well, thank you. I hope you are too. Let's get right into it. This might be personal. I have two college students in the fall, two different plans. One child staying home, remote learning. She's a sophomore. And then my freshman, who will go to Fisk University, a small school in Tennessee, goes back just the freshman class. Right. How do you start to navigate all these differences?
Right. Well, you are the perfect microcosm of the situation because schools are making all sorts of different plans. The first stage, you had schools saying we're going to be completely open or we're going to be completely closed. And I think even when that happened, and you and I talked about this earlier, it just seemed like they were making mistakes at that point. They were trying to guess too much too fast. Now schools are making much more subtle plans, and it's very common to have exactly what your kids are experiencing. Bring some students back, but not all. How do you draw those lines? What a lot of schools are doing is saying, bring the freshmen back. Let them have that college experience, at least get them started. Sophomores and juniors, you're going to do the best you can, but you're going to bring them back next year. God willing, we're in a better situation a year from now, even 6 months from now. And in many places, some seniors, those who need to be on campus, particularly for things to graduate, laboratory sciences, artworks that require them to be on site. There's certain things you can do online, certain things you can't do online. So it's a very complicated set of events. The other thing you mentioned is in terms of tuition. Some schools have dropped tuition for students who are going to be at a distance. Some schools have not. I think you're going to see a lot more movement on that because a lot more parents are going to say, look, we understand you're doing the best you can, but you're going to have to cut us a break as well.
Just taking a look briefly at some of the schools right here in our area, starting with the University of Maryland. The fall semester, it starts a little bit later in August. Blended learning right now. Does that seem to be a pretty common approach?
Yeah, I think what a lot of schools are doing is trying to shorten that semester so that you have limited the time when you've got all the students there, because make no mistake, even under the best of circumstances, this is going to be very difficult. There's going to be intensive cleaning of dorms, of classrooms between every class that meets live. You're going to have full cleaning of that classroom. I know this seems pretty prosaic, but bathrooms all of a sudden become an enormous challenge. Students going to bathrooms between classes, if students are on campus, becomes an enormous challenge to keep them clean. So you shorten the semester, you start it later. The other thing that almost everybody is doing is saying that as of Thanksgiving, everybody goes home and stays home. Last couple of weeks of the semester, as well as exams, will be done remotely. Because the one thing nobody wants to do is send everybody home to the four corners of the world and then bring them all back real quickly with all of the exposures that they've had.
People are talking about taking a gap year, maybe attending community college. Before we let you go, I want to talk about that gap year because there are problems with that. Like you might need to reapply when you do finally get to go to college or you choose to attend classes at that college. Also scholarships. What happens to these students on scholarships?
You're asking all the right questions. And the real truth is that we have never dealt with anything like this. So many schools are just sort of catching up. If you had asked me that question 6 months ago, I would have said anybody who wants a year leave of absence can take a year leave of absence. Every school will let students do that. And normally we do that with a certain flow. Kids leave, kids come back, and it roughly evens out. This year, you could have Harvard, you mentioned. Harvard's going to have 40% of their undergraduates on campus. Suppose the other 60% say, I don't want to play. I'll take a year off. Harvard has no model. Even Harvard has no model for 60% of their students not showing up. So my best guess right now is that most of those students will show up because it's still university. They want to continue their education. But honestly, that is a guess. And as the next couple of weeks go on, a lot of people will take gap years, and a lot of universities are going to have to decide how they're going to respond to that. Right now, the rule is you want a gap year, you get a gap year, and you come back the next year with your admissions and your financial aid package intact. But everything really is very fluid right now.
And unprecedented. It's always what stays the same is that I'm always so excited to talk with you about these issues of education. Thank you for spending some time with us. Remain well.
Pleasure, and good luck to your kids this fall.